Welcome to Mindfulness at Health Launch. This is Cheryl Ruckert on April 6th in the afternoon, Saturday, as we're waiting for the eclipse on Monday. Perhaps you're reflecting on how really interconnected we all are. So today's meditation is on interconnectedness. So this is a practice that can be done in any posture. Just be relaxed, be at ease. And when you're ready, see if you can begin to trace back all those people who are involved in your interest in meditation. Someone might have given you a book, read you a poem, played you a piece of music, told you about their meditation experience. Let a sense of them, a recollection of them, come into the room with you. Consider including those who've really hurt you, not just those who you find a little bit annoying or irritating, but someone whose actions have really brought you to an edge, so that you almost said, I've got to find another way to be happy. I have to look more deeply into life. After all, they're a part of why we're here now as well. Maybe you had a teacher who instilled love of learning and a willingness to be adventurous. Maybe you had a parent who instilled confidence in your ability to try new things or explore new terrain. Maybe you've had a child who's opened you up to a new sense of wonder and interest. Just let them all be here with you now. What about the clothing that you're wearing? How many forms of life, how many people, how many things have been involved in a growing of that fiber, the creation of that cloth, transporting it, selling it, the creation of the building in which you're sitting, or the stewards of the plots of land if you're outside, all the forms of life involved in the food that you've eaten today, creature in the earth who planted that seed and nurtured that crop, who did the harvest, transported the food, sold the food, prepared the food. You can see that none of us is actually independent, alone, or cut off, however alone we might sometimes feel. They're all a part of the greater fabric of life, this immense web of relationships and connections and influences, this immense web of interdependence. We arrive at this moment in time by a sea, an ocean of conditions. If we look at a tree, we can see it as just a tree. Or we can look at a tree and sense the soil and everything that affects the quality of that soil which is nourishing the tree. The rainfall. Everything affecting the quality of that rainfall. The sunlight and the moonlight. The quality of the air. If the tree is just a tree, or the confluence of all these conditions coming together, moving, changing, and so too we can see ourselves. Meditation is just a practice of looking at ourselves to include the good within ourselves, and so too when we look at others. This is not an exercise meant to deny that anything is wrong or regrettable. But if we look at somebody and we only think about the mistakes they've made, then a tremendous sense of self and other and us and them can be reinforced. Whereas, if we include even one good thing, if we can think of it, then a bridge is built. So that when we honestly and directly look at what's difficult, it's more from a stance of being side by side rather than across this huge gulf of seeming separation. Beginning with oneself, just in a relaxed, easy posture. however you feel comfortable. See if you can think of one good thing you did yesterday. It may not have been very big or grandiose. Maybe you smiled at somebody. Maybe you listened to them. Maybe you let go of some annoyance at a slow clerk at a store. Maybe you forgave yourself for not saying something totally correctly. Maybe you were generous. Maybe you sat down to meditate. Maybe you thanked a bus driver. It's not conceit or arrogance to consider these things. It's quite nourishing, replenishing, to take joy, to take delight in the good that lives through us that we can manifest. If at any time, whether with ourselves or somebody else, we cannot think of something good, then there's another reflection that we do, which is simply to recall that all beings want to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy. This urge toward happiness is nothing to be squeamish about or feel funny about. The problem is not the urge. The problem is ignorance, not really sensing where genuine happiness might be found, and so making the mistakes that might cause so much suffering for ourselves or for somebody else. That urge toward happiness itself is rightful. It's appropriate. When we can combine it with wisdom instead of ignorance, it becomes like a homing instinct for freedom and can help us cut through many obstacles. We start with ourselves and then with others, looking for the good. If it's just not going to happen that way, we switch to this other reflection, recalling that all beings want to be happy. Think of a benefactor, someone who helped you. Here, their good qualities might come in a rush. You can appreciate that about them, those aspects, those efforts, those acts of kindness. Think of a good friend. Appreciate the good within them. Think of someone you know who's having a difficult time right now. They're ill or hurting. Think of the good within them and the times they've reached out to help others, their own sources of strength. You can see that this person is not just the problem, but something bigger. Think of someone you have a little bit of difficulty with, a conflict, unease. See if you can find some good reflected in things they've done, choices they've made. If not, you can switch to that other reflection, remembering that they too, just like each one of us, wants to be happy. They want to be happy. Everybody wants the same sense of belonging, feeling at home in this body, this mind, this life. Ignorance is a very strong force. I will close with a few moments of the reflection that all beings want to be happy. May they be happy. You can silently repeat that over and over again. You can close the session with a few moments of reflection that all beings want to be happy. May they be happy. You can silently repeat those phrases again and again. All beings want to be happy. May they be happy. This is a reflection that can be done in any posture, as open or closed. Just be relaxed. Call to mind a difficult emotion you felt recently. Anger, greed, jealousy, or fear. Notice how you feel about that emotion. Are you ashamed of it? Do you dislike yourself for it? Do you feel you should have been able to prevent it from arising? Do you consider yourself in some way bad or wrong for this feeling? See what happens if you translate that sense of bad, wrong, defective, terrible to painful, to recognize that this state of anger, fear, or jealousy is a painful state. It's a state of suffering. See what happens to your relationship to that feeling as you make this translation. Take that emotion, see what it feels like in your body, the anger, the fear, the jealousy. Now, held with some kindness, some compassion. Observe the various sensations. Maybe it's tightening in your chest, constriction. Notice the nature of the compassion which was holding it, surrounding it. The pain is there, and the compassion is there. Notice the effect if that sense of bad and wrong and terrible comes back. Now imagine someone you know filled with that same emotion, jealousy, anger, fear, greed. Notice what happens as you describe to yourself those states of emotion as bad, wrong, terrible, horrible. What happens as you respond to them, the states of pain or suffering? You can reflect on the fact that we can't seem to control the arising of these feelings. We didn't invite them. We didn't wish for them. As conditions come together, they arise, and we see our own greed, jealousy, hatred, and so on. We don't need to be overcome by them, defined by them, fall into them, act from them. We're actually not able to prevent them from arising. This is just in the nature of things for ourselves and for others. We can't commit ourselves to trying to see them very quickly, to recognize their painful nature, to have compassion for ourselves and to let go. We can't commit ourselves to remembering that when someone else is acting badly, the state that is likely motivating them of greed, of hatred, or fear, these are painful states. And we can have compassion for them. Even as we may take strong action to try to change the situation, protect ourselves, or take care of someone else, our motive in doing so need not be a sense of disgust or aversion, but can be that recognition of the pain they too are in. Bring up a joyous feeling, perhaps a memory, a plan, an encounter, and feel the emotion within that. Sense of delight, gratitude, wonder, whatever it might be. See where you feel it in your body. What does it feel like? How is it changing? Can you experience it fully in the present moment without leaning forward into the future? I've got to get some more. I can't let it go away. If you see those kinds of reactions in your mind, settle back. Come back into your body. Feel the different sensations being born of that emotion in this moment. Bring up a difficult emotion. Let's say it's anger. In the same way, feel it in your body. The circumstances, the provocation, the plans for revenge don't really matter. In this meditation, we're focused on the feeling itself. So apart from the story, what does the anger feel like in your body? Or does it feel like it's a mood? It's not just one thing. It may be moments of sadness, moments of fear, moments of frustration, moments of helplessness. Just watch them arise and pass away to make up this emotion we call anger. Notice that neither the joyful state or the angry state is permanent, fixed, unchanging. changing, evanescent. You may find your attention going back into some story. First, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that. If you can recognize that, just let go of it. Come back to your direct experience in the moment. What am I feeling right now? And what does it feel like? What's happening? What's its nature? And even after you finish the formal session of meditation, see if you can bring some of this skill into your encounters throughout the day. What am I feeling right now? What does it feel like? What's its nature? Letting go of thought in this meditation, you can comfortably sit or lie down or close your eyes. Or if you're keeping them open, just find a spot in front of you to rest your gaze. Let it go and center your attention on the feeling of the in and out of breath at the nostrils, at the chest, or at the abdomen, just the normal, natural breath. And as you feel the sensations of the breath, you can make a very quiet mental notation of breath. Breath. With the in-breath, with the out-breath. And then when a thought arises that's strong enough to take your attention away from the breath, simply note it as not breath. It's not the breath. And you can recognize it in just that way. It doesn't matter if it's the most beautiful thought in the world or the most terrible thought in the world, the one you would never disclose to anyone else. It's simply not the breath. You don't have to judge yourself. You don't have to get lost in the thought or elaborate it. You recognize it's not the breath. Very gently let it go and bring your attention back to the feeling of the breath. It's breath and not breath. Some of your thoughts may have been tender, caring. Some may have been very cruel, hurtful. They're not the breath. See them, recognize them, let them go. Bring your attention back to the feeling of the breath. The thoughts are like clouds moving through the sky. Some are very light and fluffy looking, very inviting. Some are quite ominous and threatening, but they're not the breath. Just let them go. Our habitual tendency is to grab onto a thought, build an entire world around it, or push it away, struggle against it. Here we stay even, balanced, calm. We simply recognize it's not the breath. Very gently let it go. Bring your attention back, one breath at a time. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes and relax.